We'll show you one other painting to give you some other ideas of how you build flesh tones using these exact same colors. On this painting, I made a much more extensive use of burnt umber, which is that dark, grayish, very cool brown color. And I used it mostly on the model's back, because the model in this picture is lit from that side, and she's not lit on the back. The back is in shadows. So if it's in shadows, obviously you want to make it darker. But I could have made it darker using burnt sienna mixed with red. You can make that pretty darn dark, but it would still have that reddishness. But when things fall into shadow, they lose their color. That's one of the things that happens when you walk into a dark room. First you notice it's dark, but even if the walls of the room were painted bright red, they wouldn't look bright red because it's too dark for the red to show. And that also happens on skin. So her back had the same tones as her front, but when they're in shadow, they look cooler, grayer. And so that's why I used a lot of burnt umber in my mixtures on her back. In the front, in her face, I use exact same mixtures that I just described to you with the little girl. White mixed with cadmium red hue mixed with burnt sienna. No umber. No umber in the front side of her face, except in her eyebrows, the darkest shadow in her nostril, a tiny, tiny bit at the corners of her mouth. That's the only burnt umber in this painting. Everything else, except of course for the eyes, is cadmium red hue, titanium white, and burnt sienna. Now, one other thing I want to point out is the background. Once again, I used the same colors I used on the little girl's portrait I was just showing you. It starts out here. This is pretty much pure burnt umber. As it goes down, it becomes pretty much pure burnt sienna. At the bottom, there's a tiny bit of white mixed in with the burnt sienna to get that lightest shade. And once again, I painted the signature in pure burnt umber. I've experimented with a million background color schemes, and I got to tell you, this is the one I like best. This is my go-to color scheme. It works absolutely every time. There are no rules governing what color you make your background. You can paint a detailed background if you want to. I don't like to because I think it takes away from the figure. But if you want to use a background color scheme that will look great and absolutely work for you every single time, I strongly recommend burnt umber to burnt sienna with a little white, all of it blended nice and smoothly so you don't see any paint strokes or anything left like that. So that's basically it. Mixing flesh tones with oil paints is easy. You only need the four colors that I've mentioned over and over: white, burnt sienna, burnt umber, and cadmium red hue, and you can mix any color that exists in the skin of any human being on this planet. Thanks very much for watching my video. This has been the second in a series of 7 videos. So if you got something out of this, please take a look at some of my other videos on YouTube. And also, if you get a chance, check me out online. My website is learntopaintportraits.com. Thanks for watching.